Number 12, Hellfire Club, Selene. Most people join exclusive social clubs to get cheap drinks or maybe complain about the local park, but the Hellfire Club is where the world's richest people go play dress up and accidentally start world wars. On the surface, it's a fancy place for elites to sip tea, but the inner circle is actually a bunch of mutants who want to own the planet and probably charge us rent for breathing. One prominent member of this secret society is Selene Gallo, the oldest living human mutant, which means she remembers when the wheel was a new and exciting technology. She is a psychic vampire with magic skills that would make most sorcerers want to quit and find a desk job. Within the club, everyone calls her the Black Queen, a title that sounds cool until she starts draining your soul to keep her skin glowing. To make it even more terrifying, she is a subversive manipulator who uses her powers to get what she wants while using the club's money like a personal piggy bank. In my opinion, she's the most dangerous member because she has thousands of years of dark magic knowledge tucked away in her brain. She can suck the life force out of anyone nearby to give herself superhuman strength and move things with her mind. In Uncanny X-Men number 184, she decides to show off her terrifying raw power when she runs into Rachel Summers. Now, Rachel is not some random person. She is a high-tier telepath who carries a piece of the Phoenix Force, which is basically the universe's angry bird of fire. Even with all that power, Selene just walks right through Rachel's mental defenses and starts draining her life essence for a quick snack. I think it's pretty clear that this specific fight solidifies her status as an apocalyptic threat, because it turns out not even a Phoenix host can stop her ancient vampirism. What I think is even more insane is that in that exact same encounter, she basically treats the rest of the X-Men like a group of toddlers trying to take a toy away from a professional wrestler. When the team shows up to save Rachel, Selene hits them with magical attacks that are way beyond anything they have ever seen. She effortlessly knocks out the heavy hitters and shrugs off their best moves as if they were just annoying flies at a picnic. Her magical prowess and physical invulnerability really put her in a league of her own compared to the heroes we usually see. This is exactly why, if you ever see her at a party, just hand over your soul and your wallet to save everyone the time. Number 11, Inhumans, Black Bolt. If you think your family reunions are awkward, just be glad you don't have to deal with Inhumans and their Silent King. These guys are a reclusive and advanced group of genetically altered people who were created by the Kree aliens thousands of years ago as a science project that got way out of hand. They live in a city called Atalan, which is full of amazing tech but also has a super weird societal system based on what kind of powers you get from sniffing special gas. This gas is called the Terrigen Mists, and it determines if you get to be a cool warrior or if you end up with syphilis. Leading this bunch of weirdos is Blackagar Boltagon, better known as Black Bolt, who is the strongest Inhuman and also the guy you never want to invite to a karaoke night. His power is all in his voice because the speech center of his brain makes a special particle that reacts with the air to cause massive explosions. Even a tiny whisper from him can knock down a mountain, so he has to spend all his time being a Silent King who never makes a sound unless you make him. During the comic event War of Kings number 1, he gets into a serious fist fight with a guy named Gladiator. This Gladiator person is the lead of the Shi'ar Imperial Guard and is basically as strong and tough as Superman, provided he feels confident about himself that day. During this scrap, Black Bolt proves he doesn't just rely on his loud mouth by matching Gladiator's hits one for one. He uses his ability to control electrons to make his body stronger and tougher, showing everyone that he's an elite fighter who can brawl with the biggest names in the galaxy. But perhaps my favorite feat of him happens later on in War of Kings number 6, where he decides to stop being polite and does something truly devastating. With the help of a machine called the T-Bomb, which was built by his annoying brother Maximus to make his voice even louder, the king lets out a full-powered scream. The sheer force of this noise actually rips a hole in the fabric of space and time. This explosion creates a massive gap in reality called the Fault, which stretches for light years and connects their universe to a nightmare dimension called the Cancerverse. To me, that scream confirmed that his voice is a threat that can literally break reality if he gets even a little bit vocal. It's a good thing he is such a good listener, because his Yelp reviews would be a literal disaster. Number 10, Eternals Ikaris. The last two were powerful, but nowhere near these maniacs in the top 10. The Eternals are what happens when space gods decide to make a bunch of immortal protectors and then forget to give them a day off. These guys were made over 1 million years ago by the Celestials, who, if you aren't familiar, are giant space robots that like to poke things to see what happens. I think being an Eternal is a boring job because they were tasked with protecting Earth from the Deviants, who are their ugly, monstrous cousins who always ruin the neighborhood vibe. Because the Eternals, who can control every single cell in their bodies, they are basically impossible to kill, which makes their insurance premiums very low. Among all the Eternals, Ikaris is the guy who does most of the heavy lifting and actually stays active, while the others are probably taking naps for a few centuries. Even though a guy named Zurus is technically the boss, Ikaris is often the one calling the shots and leading the fight as the Prime Eternal. He is way more powerful than most of his friends, possessing massive strength, the ability to fly, and eyes that shoot cosmic energy beams like a disco ball of death. In New Eternals Apocalypse Now #1, he goes up against Apocalypse, a mutant villain who is obsessed with being the fittest person in the room. What I find interesting is that Apocalypse is covered in celestial tech, which makes the fight very personal since Ikaris basically considers that stolen property. Even though Apocalypse has a huge range of powers, Ikaris just keeps coming at him like a relentless cosmic bill collector. He uses his centuries of fighting experience to just beat the mutant tyrant into the ground with raw physical force. His top spot is further confirmed in Eternals Volume 2, number 9, when he has to fight his friend Thena. The thing is, she is a top-tier warrior too, and the two want to settle who's the best Eternal of all. The fight is a massive clash of two immortal titans that probably shook the ground for miles. In the end, Thena is seen collapse to the ground while Ikaris comes out as the winner. This victory officially made him the Prime Eternal, putting him at the very top of his immortal race. Number 9, Dark Avengers Sentry. The Dark Avengers were basically what happens when you let the school bully run the student council and pick the sports team. After a bunch of shapeshifting Skrulls tried to take over the world, a crazy guy named Norman Osborn somehow convinced everyone he was a hero. He replaced S.H.I.E.L.D. with its own group called Hammer, and put together a team of villains who dressed up like the real Avengers to trick the public. The strongest guy on this team was Robert Reynolds, also known as Sentry, who has the power of 1 million exploding suns. The problem is that Robert is also dealing with some serious mental health issues and a scary dark side called the Void that wants to eat the world. On the Dark Avengers, he was Osborn's favorite toy because Norman could manipulate him into doing horrible things while pretending to give him medical help. In the middle of Siege number 2, Sentry shows everyone just how terrifying he is when Osborn decides to invade Asgard, the home of the Norse gods. Ares, the actual god of war, finally realizes Osborn's a jerk and tries to stop the invasion. Even though Ares is a literal immortal god who can lift buildings, Sentry just flies up to him in the middle of the sky. In a move that was way too brutal for Saturday morning cartoons, Reynolds ignores everything Ares throws at him and just rips the god in half with his hands. This move proved that his strength is way beyond anything you would find in a mythological book. But wait, it gets even weirder in Dark Avengers number 12, when the team fights Molecule Man. This villain can control all matter and he actually vaporizes Sentry until there's nothing left but a bad smell. However, Reynolds just decides he doesn't want to be dead and builds his whole body back from scratch because he realized he can control molecules too. He then outwarps the guy who warps reality for a living, murdering the guy in the process, confirming that he has no real limit to his power. These feats alone put him above Ikaris, and if you were to ask me, I think he could take the previous 3 guys all at the same time without breaking a sweat. Number 8, Brotherhood of Mutants, Magneto. The Brotherhood of Mutants is basically a club for people who think that humans are a lost cause and that mutants should just run the show already. I honestly really like them because they were started as the aggressive opposite of the X-Men because they don't believe in playing nice with people who want to lock them in cages. That's why they go around attacking governments and try to make sure mutants stay at the top of the food chain. The guy who started it all is Max Eisenhart, better known as Magneto, who is basically the master of anything that has a magnetic field. He's an Omega-level mutant, which is a fancy way of saying he can flip the planet's magnetic poles if he's having a bad Tuesday. I am a big fan of his because he acts like a leader and a hero to his people, and he's tough enough to survive a nuclear bomb just by pulling up a purple shield. In X-Men Legacy number 233, he shows off how smart he is while fighting a guy named Proteus. Proteus is an Omega-level nightmare who is made of pure mental energy and hops from body to body like a parasite. Instead of just throwing a bus at him, Magneto figures out that Proteus is just a bunch of energy waves. That's when he uses his magnetic powers to reach inside and wiggle those energy waves around until Proteus just falls apart and loses his connection to his host. To me, this shows that Magneto's real strength is how perfectly he can control the world around him. Then there's the time in Axe Judgment Day number 4, when he did something that I think was so cool it shouldn't even be possible. A scary Eternal named Uranos attacked and punched a hole right through Magneto's chest, completely destroying his heart. Most people would take that as a sign to stop fighting and die, but Magneto just used his powers to grab the iron in his blood and pump it through his body manually. He literally kept himself alive with magnets while he went back to the fight to help beat the bad guy. That's some serious dedication to the cause, especially for a guy who technically should have been a ghost. I think his strength is pretty much on par with Sentry, as their fight could literally go either way. Which is exactly why if you say in the comments that Sentry would have been higher, that would still be fair. But still, Magneto's the only person who can have a heart attack and just decide to reschedule it for later. Number 7, Illuminati Doctor Strange. The Illuminati is a secret group of heroes who think they're smart enough to run the world from a hidden room without telling anyone else. They're basically the cool kids at the table of the superhero world, featuring the leaders of all the big factions. Dr. Stephen Strange is there because he is the top expert on magic and things that go bump in the night. As the Sorcerer Supreme, his job is to make sure demons from other dimensions don't turn Earth into a vacation home. In the Illuminati, he provides the magical backup that science guys like Iron Man can't understand. What I think most people love the most about is that he has a bunch of spells, a cloak that flies, and an eyeball necklace that sees through lies, making him very hard to beat in an argument. In Doctor Strange number 28, he had to fight a cosmic entity called the In-Betweener. This guy is a big deal because he represents the balance between everything, like life and death or order and chaos. Normal magic didn't work on him because he is a cosmic abstract. So Strange had to get creative, and believe it or not, it's simpler than you think. That's when he used his giant brain to summon the two beings who actually created the In-Betweener, Lord Chaos and Master Order, and forced them to merge their power. This basically caused the entity to have a system error and get kicked out of our reality. What makes it even crazier is that when he fought Shuma Gorath in Marvel Premiere number 10, this thing is a giant eyeball with tentacles that rules hundreds of dimensions and wanted to enter our world through the mind of Strange's teacher, the Ancient One. Strange had to go inside his mentor's brain and fight a psychic war against a chaos god. In the end, he had to make the tough call to kill his teacher to save the planet. That's a pretty heavy burden to carry, but I guess that's why he gets the fancy title and the high-collared cape. This guy is versatile, has many tricks up his sleeve, and incredibly smart, which I think earns him the spot above Magneto. Comment down below if you agree. Number 6, Guardians of the Galaxy, Adam Warlock. Moving on to the second half of this list, we have Adam Warlock from the Guardians of the Galaxy. The Guardians of the Galaxy are a group of space misfits who protect the universe from threats that the big galactic empires are too lazy or too scared to handle. They usually travel around in a spaceship getting into trouble, but when things get really bad, they call in Adam Warlock. Adam was actually grown in a lab by scientists who wanted to make the perfect human, but he ended up becoming a cosmic messiah instead. He's the team's heavy hitter, and they're expert on all the weird cosmic stuff that happens in the deep space, and he's also one of my personal favorites in Marvel. Because he is bonded to the Soul Gem, he has a massive list of powers like soul magic, energy blasts, and the ability to come back to life by taking a nap in a golden cocoon. In Marvel 2-in-1 Annual number 2, he was the one who finally put an end to Thanos' plan to kill every star in the sky. Warlock had actually been dead and stuck inside his own soul gem, but he got pulled out for a brief moment of revenge. He turned into a glowing avatar of cosmic power and hit Thanos with a blast of soul energy so strong it turned the Mad Titan into a statue made of solid granite. Seeing a guy who can fight gods get turned into a lawn ornament shows you exactly how much power Adam has over the soul. I love that feat so much, but his biggest moment of authority happened in Infinity Gauntlet number 6. After a villain named Nebula stole the gauntlet, she couldn't handle the power and everything was falling apart. Warlock used his special connection to the gems to reach inside the magical network and mess with the balance of the stones. When Nebula dropped the glove, Adam just walked up and took it for himself, becoming the most powerful being in existence for a while. As someone who managed to go toe-to-toe with Prime Thanos in the 90s, Adam Warlock is a cosmic powerhouse who could beat 90% of the verse, making him earn this 6th spot on the list. Number 5, Defenders, Silver Surfer. Now we go even further and beyond towards bigger leagues as we dig into the top 5, starting with Defenders, Silver Surfer. The Defenders are what you get when you get a bunch of powerful owners realize they can't handle a magical apocalypse by themselves. What's so special about this team is that they aren't a formal team with a headquarters or a dental plan. They just show up when things get weird. The Silver Surfer is one of the main guys in this group, and he is easily one of the most powerful beings in the comics. He used to be a regular guy named Norrin Rad until he made a deal with Galactus to save his home planet. That's when he got turned into a shiny silver man with a surfboard and the power cosmic, which lets him do things like fly faster than light and rebuild planets. In the Defenders, he's the guy who brings the heavy cosmic artillery to the fight. In the Guardians of the Galaxy number 25, he did something that most people thought was impossible. He beat up a fully fed Galactus. In this story, the Surfer had reached a new level of power and decided he was done being pushed around by his old boss. So he used the power cosmic to hit Galactus with so much energy that it actually hurt the giant planet eater. This fight proved that the Surfer's potential is high enough to challenge the very being who gave him his powers in the first place. Another incredible feat happened in Silver Surfer Volume 7, number 15, when the entire multiverse was being erased during Secret Wars. Everything was turned into a white void of nothingness, and there was nowhere to run. The Surfer just jumped on his board and flew so fast that he actually outran the end of existence. He literally moved faster than the universe could disappear, which is a level of speed that makes a speedometer look like a joke. If you ever see a silver guy on a surfboard, you should probably stay out of his way because he clearly has somewhere very important to be. Number 4, Black Order, Thanos. The Black Order is essentially a group of scary space generals who travel around the universe doing chores for their boss, except the chores usually involve destroying entire civilizations. When a planet needs to be taken over, these guys show up and make everyone's life miserable with their incredible power. Their boss, Thanos of Titan, also known as the Mad Titan, and he is the guy who makes everyone else in the galaxy want to move to a different dimension. What's more terrifying is that he is a mutant eternal with a condition called Deviant Syndrome, which is why he looks like a giant purple rock and is way stronger than everyone else he grew up with. But that's not the end of it because he has almost infinite strength. He is nearly impossible to hurt, and he is a super genius who can read your mind if he feels like it. In Thanos number 12, he proves that he is the toughest stat in the universe by fighting his own son, Thane. This was not a normal family argument because Thane was possessed by the Phoenix Force, giving him the power of a cosmic god. They ended up in a place called the God Quarry, where a weakened Thanos had to figure out how to win. Even though his son had the power of universal fire, Thanos just got into a dirty street fight and beat him down with pure grit and tactics. He eventually stripped the Phoenix Force right off his kid and threw him into a hole like he did with Gamora in the movies, which I think is one way to handle a rebellious teenager. His biggest moment, though, was in the Infinity Gauntlet story. He got his hands on all 6 Infinity Gems and became the master of everything. Every big cosmic being in the universe, including the guy who eats planets and the guy who is the literal personification of the universe, tried to stop him at once. Thanos just stood there and beat the entire cosmic guest list at the same time using the glove. He basically won the entire universe and then got bored because there was nobody left to fight. Turns out that when you are that strong, the only thing you really have to worry about is your own ego and maybe finding a comfortable chair. Number 3, Avengers, Thor. Calm down, Oak fans. We know he's strong, but Thor is a literal god. The Avengers are Earth's mightiest heroes, which basically means they are the people you call when an alien army lands in the middle of New York. They have all the best tech and a very high budget for repairs, but Thor is the guy who brings the actual god-tier power to the table. As the Norse god of thunder, he's an Asgardian who is incredibly strong and can live for thousands of years. But his real trick is controlling the weather and shooting lightning out of his hammer, Mjolnir. He is the heavy hitter of the team and can wrestle the cosmic monsters like it's a hobby. In Thor Volume 6, number 6, he did something so massive, it's hard to even wrap your head around. A multiversal monster called the Black Winter was coming to eat their reality, and Thor had to team up with Galactus to stop it. When Galactus tried to betray him, Thor just reached out and sucked all the energy out of the Planet Eater, leaving him like a deflated balloon. He then packed all of his god power and the stolen energy into Galactus' body and threw it at the Black Winter like a giant cosmic grenade. The explosion was so big it deleted the multiversal threat from existence. That was probably one of the most insane feats any hero can have, but his biggest mythical moment was in Thor Volume 2, number 85, during Ragnarok. The Norse gods were being stuck in a loop of dying and being reborn for the amusement of some ancient shadow beings called those who sit above in shadow. Thor got a massive power boost with rune magic and went to the World Tree, which holds all of reality together. He then destroyed the magical loom that was making this cycle happen, ending the loop and freeing his people forever. He basically looked at Destiny and decided he didn't like the script, so he tore it up. For this reason, Thor is our undisputed number 3 on this list. He's stronger than Silver Surfer, he's stronger than Thanos, without the gauntlet, but he's just a dying ant compared to the next two. Number 2, Fantastic Four, Franklin Richards. The Fantastic Four are basically a family of scientists who accidentally got superpowers while trying to explore space. They spend most of the time checking out weird dimensions and fighting giant monsters, but the strongest person in the house is actually the kid, Franklin Richards. Franklin is the son of Reed and Sue, and he is an Omega-level mutant who can rewrite reality just by thinking about it. When he was a little boy, he accidentally made a whole pocket universe under his bed because he was sad. What's interesting is that while he is usually protected by his family, on a cosmic scale, he is basically a god in a t-shirt. In Fantastic Four number 604, an adult version of Franklin comes back from the future to save his family from mad celestials. These space gods are usually impossible to beat, but Franklin just treats them like a minor problem. My favorite part is when he actually brings Galactus back to life and makes him his personal helper for a fight. Together, they blast the Celestials with reality warping energy that goes right through their indestructible armor. Let me tell you, seeing a human kid order Galactus around like a pet is one of the wildest things in comics. But perhaps his biggest achievement was at the end of the 2015 Secret Wars event. The entire multiverse has been destroyed, and there was absolutely nothing left. Franklin used his powers to imagine every single universe back into existence, rebuilding the entire Marvel multiverse from scratch. He basically did the work of a billion gods while his dad helped him out with the details. He is the ultimate proof that you should never underestimate the quiet kid in the room, especially if he can make stars appear in his hands. If he ever asks you to play hide and seek, you might want to specify that he shouldn't hide in a different reality. Number 1, X-Men Phoenix. The X-Men are a team of mutants who spend their lives trying to save people who actually hate them for being different. They live in a fancy mansion that is also a school and a secret base led by Professor X. Jean Grey is the heart of the team, and she started out with some basic mental powers, but then she met the Phoenix Force. The Phoenix, as we discussed earlier, is a giant cosmic firebird that represents all the life in the universe that hasn't been born yet. When Jean bonds with it, she stops being a regular mutant and becomes a god who can eat stars and change the laws of physics. In Generations Phoenix and Jean Grey, number 1, a young version of Jean meets her older Phoenix-powered self. Galactus shows up to eat a planet, but instead of trying to talk to him, Jean just flies up and starts a fight. She hits the giant world eater with so much cosmic fire that it actually gets staggered and has to back off. This was insane to me, because she fought a fundamental force of nature to a standstill and made him find a snack somewhere else. Her biggest feat, though, happened in New X-Men number 154. In a dark future where everything was falling apart, Jean was brought back to life and reached her final form, the White Phoenix of the Crown. She reached out and telekinetically rewrote the entire timeline. She basically did a save and reload on the entire universe to make sure things turned out okay. In the end, she's the ultimate protector who can burn everything down and then build it back better than it was before. When she's around, the rest of the team is basically just there to watch the fireworks. You definitely don't want to get on her bad side, unless you enjoy being turned into a cosmic dust. Well, that's it for this one. If you liked the video, hit that like button, subscribe for more, and ring the bell so you never miss a drop. Craving more stories from comics, movies, and beyond? Check out this video right here. Cheers, and see you in the next one.